Alright, let's take a look at on how to reconfigure the enhanced input mappings. I decided to make this tutorial because there's really no straightforward method to do this properly, including saving. So here I have multiple keys inside one action input, and I'm gonna just do a quick example on changing the W to a J key during runtime. So here I'm just gonna jump into the game, press W, moving forward just as regular. And now I'm gonna reconfigure it to a different key. So I press J now, and I quickly exit. Pressing W, doesn't move forward, I press J, and it moves forward. Okay, so now when I exit, it changed here, and that's without saving anything, without creating a save game object. So I'm gonna change it back to W now, and let's take a look at the widget stuff and the logic behind it. So first, I created just a small widget, which is going to be a child of a bigger widget. And I just made a text box here, and you're gonna want to bind the text to a variable here. And this is going to have functionality as well, not just visual stuff. So once that's done, you're gonna want to make a key selection thing, and that's pretty much it for that. Just has to be laid out properly. Now to the boring stuff. First, oh yeah, so for this key here, this key selection thing, you're gonna want to go to the very bottom, and you're gonna want to press on this on key selected so it gets populated as an event, and you're gonna want to give it a gate here, so when it enters it gets controlled by the refresh event, which is being fired by the pre-construct. So first you're gonna want to make a variable called input mapping context, and you're gonna want to grab the context which you made, which is this one right here, and you're gonna want to put it in this variable, and you're gonna want to loop through the mappings. Now here is the thing with this, it's a little bit tricky to get multiple keys configured properly, because here you'll see what I mean. When we break this, it only gives you one key structure. Even though we have 4 here, it only gives you 1, which makes really no sense. So the trick I found to getting this working properly is getting the display name of the, oh yeah, I changed it to a display name, and then I would switch on the display name of the string. So it's a bit of a mess here, but you're gonna want to match the modifiers with the modifiers of each key in here. See, so all of these different keys here, the WASD stuff, they all have different modifiers. So you're gonna want to match them with their class as a gate, as a different gate. So here you have forward, left, right, and back. So first I was initially getting this as the string to switch on, but then I changed it as a display name to switch on, which is much easier. And you're gonna want to do this because you can have different languages in your game, and you don't want to mess with this a lot. So this is just a child blueprint that's trying to match the key of whatever key action you have told it it's supposed to be. So that's what's happening with this widget in here. So once it finds that it's the actual key action which you've told it to be, it's going to become an action key, and we're going to make the key selection as the current key of this action key. So we're pretty much just trying to match this text in here as the one that's in here. That's what's happening with this and this. And then you're gonna want to store the key as a memory for when the user or the player is trying to map a key that's already mapped with something else. So once that's done, you can open up the onKeySelected event so the player or the user can actually remap it. And in here, you're pretty much just looping through it to make sure that it's not in conflict with the one that's in memory of something else. And if it is in conflict, we tell it, hey, it's being used already. We can't remap it. So we pretty much just allow it to go back to the key in memory for the key selection. However, if it's not mapped to something else, we unmap it first in here for the key action variable. So probably I missed this part. I forgot to mention this part. You're going to need 3 variables that are instance editable, which is the input name, the parent context, which is this thing right here, and the action input, which is the stuff that's in here, the move, crouch, jump, and all the action inputs that are supposed to be remapped. And this is all going to be controlled in a bigger blueprint, a bigger widget blueprint, like this one, but I'll get to this one in a bit. So once we're able to remap it, we unmap it first, we map it again, but then we also need to make sure to populate the correct modifiers and triggers of the one that we populated in here. So this is an important variable. It's not supposed to it's supposed to store the very initial settings that you put in here during edit time, and then it will carry on forever during runtime. So even though the selected key has changed, we still need the modifiers to be matched as the one that we set during edit time. And then we try to find it, and then we set the array element. And that's the proper way. You don't need to create any save game object or anything like that. It's straightforward and simple, much easier like this. And that's all the logic behind this child widget. Now to the bigger widget, you're gonna want to create a scroll box or whatever it is you're gonna want to populate the stuff in. And I highly suggest that you do this manually. So you see here, I put them in here manually rather than auto population, because you're gonna want to select the category stuff. But here's the important thing. So let's go back to this. So the forward, left, right, and back. So I named these specifically like this so they can have functionality inside the child blueprint. So back in this child blueprint, the key selection, this little macro that we made in here, where we are switching on the name or the string, we're going forward, left, right, and back. So it has functionality from the name that we put in here. So it's much easier to do this because you're not gonna have any conflictions with language stuff. And for the default, it's for anything that it doesn't have multiple keys inside one action input. So that's what we're doing in here. We're matching the display name with what we have named them in here. So that's what's going on. Alright, that's pretty much it. So when you make all of these, you're gonna want to come down to the default area and go to the instance editable variables, and you want to match it with the action inputs and match it with the parent context, even though this is probably not going to be needed if you're using just one complete context. But if you're using multiples, you're gonna want to still edit it in here, and you're gonna want to change the input name. So this is good because now you see the move forward in here is W. Now if I go in here to the W and I hit Y, save it, come back in here and I compile it again, it changes to Y. So this is good like this. There's no save game object for any of this stuff. Alright, so I hope this was useful to you, and if you have any like enhanced way of doing this, let me know. Thanks for watching.